to Every Day is a New Day.
Kim O'Neill from KimO'NeillCoaching.com.
We are live. Welcome to another episode of Every Day is a New Day, where I have inspired conversations with awesome guests about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. And if you have found us live, you are watching us on Facebook Every Day at KimO'NeillCoaching.com. And I take it that means we are showing up live on Facebook. So
We're live.
Nice. Thank you for that, Justin. In fact, that's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and close mine as well. So we're good to go. But obviously you have found us live on Facebook at Kim O'Neill Coaching or on the replay over at bingenetworks.tv on the Every Day is a New Day channel or over on my YouTube channel. And I'm so happy to have you here. So as always, whether you're here with us live or on the replay, do go ahead and feel free to comment below. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're watching us from. And if you have guests, as I'm talking with today's guest, oh my goodness, this guy's awesome, then please go ahead and comment below. And, we're going to do our best to respond and answer all your questions as we're live during the show. So with that said, hello and welcome, Justin Schenck.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. First of all, thank you for calling me awesome. I enjoy that word. And just thank you so much for having me on. And you keep me up past my bedtime, as I jokingly said before we started here, East Coast and West Coast. And I'm just really excited to have this conversation after we met out in San Diego.
Yes. Well, thank you for staying up late for the show. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the audience a little bit about you. And then would love for you to, of course, elaborate on that. So Justin Schenck, if you haven't heard about him yet, you're going to soon. He is amazing. So Justin has been named a top 8 podcaster to watch in 2018 by Inc.com. And he was chosen as an icon of influence in the new media space. What started out as a way to connect with top people and inspire others has become a way of life. Now getting played in over 100 countries every single week, which is his podcast called The Growth Now Movement. Now getting played in over 100 countries every single week, he is able to make a greater impact than he could ever imagine. And he not only speaks to organizations on how to overcome adversity and utilize podcasting to grow your business, but he helps others launch and grow their own podcasts with beginpodcastingnow.com. And that's just a little bit about Justin.
So it's so weird, to hear that stuff, right? Because I am totally... the whole idea of least likely to succeed, these accolades shouldn't be happening. The fact that 100 countries tune in blows my mind. And I feel grateful every single week because, it hasn't been easy, but I think that's the journey for everybody. And I just decided to 2.5 years ago launch this show in order to have inspiring conversation, to learn from some of the most amazing people in the world, to hopefully impact 1 or 2 lives along the way. And it's just kind of blown up to become this crazy thing. I always bring this up. The first person to ever reach out to me about my show was somebody from Japan. And
wow,
it was just one of those things where I was like, wait, what? I'm just some dude who lives in Reading, Pennsylvania. And that was one of those okay, nobody's listening in my head because when you see numbers sometimes you're like, what the hell? But then that person reached out and I was like, I don't care if there's 2 downloads an episode. I'm just going to keep doing this and see what happens. And it's really about creating a movement. It's about creating this idea that it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is the choices you're making today to move forward into the next phase of your life, the next thing, the calling, the purpose, whatever word you want to use. Right. And so that's kind of what I talk about in the Growth Now movement, is the understanding that everybody hits a rock bottom, everybody has a story, and that's your power, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you got to this space where you were just thinking, I'm just going to do a podcast, even if only 1 or 2 people watch, what even led you up to that point?
Yeah. So, it's a little bit of a longer story, but when I was 19 years old, I worked in a direct marketing company and I did fairly well and became a manager with them. And one of my employees at the end of a summertime, we had hired college kids throughout the summer to do the sales and stuff like that. And at the end of the summer, a kid came up to me and said, Justin, I probably would have made a lot more money if I worked at McDonald's this summer, but because of the things that you taught me, my life is so much better and I'm going to be a better person because of it. Wow. And it was that sentence where I went, that is what I want to do. Now, it took me a long time to figure out that path, and I tried many things. I tried to launch an app, and that didn't work. I used to have a company where I put together seminars and expos that focused on personal and professional growth, and we'd bring in speakers and sell tickets to make to make money from the events and stuff like that. Did that for about 2 years, and things were going well for me and my business partner. And we're like, this is really cool. It was a nice side hustle thing. We were young. And we decided to take all the money that we made and put it into a business expo. And the business expo, we paid a speaker a lot of money to come in and speak. We spent a lot of money on advertising, and we ended up selling 3 tickets to the event. So in that moment, that dream was like, oh, that kind of sucks, right? But at the time, I had a corporate job, and so did my business partner, and we both got promoted right around the same time that all this was happening. And so we just kind of did that for a while. But there was this void missing, at least for me, to be able to kind of impact lives, to give something positive, to help people realize what it is they're here for. And so we decided to launch the podcast. And, originally the podcast was supposed to be an entrepreneurial, business-minded podcast, not necessarily self-help, self-development. Okay. 5 months before that, unfortunately, my mom passed away when she lost a 20-year pill addiction. And it was like, I knew at that moment that I needed to take it in a different direction. And so if you go back early on with the podcast, the first 62 episodes actually were me and a co-host. And you'll notice, like, I talk very personal. I talk about self-love. I talk about overcoming adversity. And he would be like the entrepreneur guy, which was great, right? But the audience wasn't really growing and all these other things. And then I had this feeling that I had to take it on my own and kind of run with it. And I asked him to take a step back. And then the podcast became straight self-development, even though I do talk business sometimes, but we talk a lot of self-development and overcoming adversity. And ever since then, it started to kind of take off. The audience grew. Inc.com listed me on that list with guys like Lewis Howes and John Lee Dumas and Andy Frisella and all that crazy stuff. And that really kind of blew up my show. And, from that standpoint, I'm doing what I love every single day, which is impacting lives, the best I can.
Very inspiring. Just hearing
it's a journey. Sorry, I told you it was a long story.
No. That was excellent, though. I love that because you're right. Like it's not necessarily something that just happens overnight. Oh, I think I'll do a podcast. Boom, Japan, and now the world. Right? It's right. There were several other things that led up to that. So, okay. Well, thank you for acknowledging how your mother had passed away shortly before that, and you briefly touched on some of what she was struggling with. I know I've had the honor to hear just a little bit more about some of your background as a kid. Would you be open to sharing that, as this is a show about, sharing about moving forward?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you have to unpack the whole thing before you go dive deep. And, being a young kid, I had a normal childhood growing up till I was about 12. Okay. My dad owned his own company, did well. My mom worked in a pharmacy. And so around the same time that they were going to divorce, my mom lost her job and my dad's business kind of took a little bit of a hit. And so they got a divorce. My dad moved into a trailer. My mom moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. And here I am, this 12-year-old just trying to figure out life. Right. And for the next 3 years, I think I lived in like 12 or 13 different homes with my parents, but they'd constantly be moving. And it was just like this nonstop shuffle. And it was just kind of crazy. And when I was 15, my dad got arrested and I had to change high schools. At that moment, I just didn't care about school. I had a 1.7 GPA my junior year of high school. I jokingly say that I would be least likely to succeed if that was a senior superlative in high school. Okay. And throughout this, my mom would fluctuate with her addiction, right? Obviously ups and downs and so on and so forth. And you kind of experience a lot of that stuff. And so it was just something that became a way of life in a way. Like I grew up really fast. When I was 14 years old, I was the only 14-year-old who would rather talk to 40-year-olds than other 14-year-olds. Like my mind was just in a different place because I went through that type of things, and I was very self-aware, and I was very aware of the things that were happening around me. All these things kind of took hold. Now, I do want to preface this whole entire story with the idea that, like, even though my mom and dad had their own demons, they were both phenomenal parents and loving parents. Like my mom was my best friend growing up. She was amazing, right? And so when I was 19, I actually ended up having to move from New Jersey to Reading, Pennsylvania, which is where I live now, because I had to help her pay some bills and help her take care of like that type of thing, because she couldn't keep a job. And so, it's just kind of been this ongoing journey of ups and downs and constant, rock bottoms and all these things. But I'm a big believer in your rock bottoms, your opportunity to bounce back up and go create something magical. And when people ask me what was my biggest rock bottom moment, is when my mom passed away. It was kind of crazy. I was actually up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and me and my old business partner, we were actually up there recording the original intro to the show. And I got that call that nobody wants to ever get, it was from my sister. And she said, the doctor says you need to come. And it was a 7.5-hour drive down to South Jersey, which is where she was living at the time. And when I got there, she was intubated, machines were keeping her alive. And, and that was a really tough moment. But I promised her in that moment that I was going to make her proud. And I'm the man I am today because of her. And her dying won't be in vain. And so that's kind of been the journey, right? Because I do believe that life happens for you, not to you. And having that mindset shift creates so much opportunity.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Beautiful, powerful story. And, so I am a big believer that, those challenging times that we have in life, there's so much to learn and extract from them. And so you've already sort of talked about some of that, but would you share a little bit more? What were the biggest lessons that you learned from that experience of, moving, your parents getting divorced and moving to all these different places, and then your mom's struggles, your dad's struggles, and you're just trying to be a kid growing up? What?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, I think more than anything, it was a lot of like, this doesn't define me. The things that are happening to me aren't me, right? There's a quote that says life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you react to what happens to you. And I'm going to say that was probably the biggest thing, right? I think at the end of the day, like no matter who you are, and I interview celebrities and massive influencers who share the similar things, meaning like they have their own rock bottoms, they have their own issues. It's all about how you react to it. And there's a saying that it's like, there's two types of people in the world. There's people that are proactive and people that are reactive. And obviously you need to be proactive. You need to understand that life is going to change. Life is going to come at you. And it's about how you're going to then create opportunity from that instead of going, this sad thing happened and now I'm just going to let that define who I am. So yeah, sorry about that. So
No, you're good. What helps you to be more proactive and less reactive?
I think it was just what I went through. I think it was just my life, right? I think also I did a really good job, and I still feel like I do a really good job at surrounding myself with the right people. That whole idea of like you are the average of 5 people, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. That everybody knows that saying. So like I think that's so true. And I've always surrounded myself with mentors and people that I respect and people that are always on the up and up and people that are grateful and people that are giving and all these other things, right? And, as we level up our own lives, that circle then levels up too. It's really crazy when you're real intentional about what you're doing with those things. And I think that was obviously a major driving force to have a mentor at 19 who had some sort of motives in life to level up. And now at 33, the people that are my mentors now, I feel beyond blessed.
I love hearing that. So I've been a youth mentor for about 7 years now, and I completely agree. Like, I just think I love who I am today and where I'm headed, but I just think, gosh, life would be so different, say, if I had a mentor when I was younger. So that's really cool to hear that you had one, in your late teen years like that. That's awesome. I love hearing your story, and we're going to get right back to that. Just want to say a quick hello to those who are here with us live. We've got Max and Valerie Valles. Hello to you all. And we've got Lisa saying yes. So awesome to see you here, Lisa. And we have Joel. I wasn't going to share this at first, but this is kudos to Justin. So it says, wow, Kim, you're interviewing powerhouses now. Just awesome. And that's you, Justin. So.
Joel, thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that. I really am just a dude from Reading, but I'm super appreciative of you saying that.
But it's like you said, it's those choices that you make that just continue to steer you in a certain direction because you took the chance to make those decisions or those choices. You're not just saying, well, this is what happened to me, so then therefore this is all I'm left with. I mean, you've made some really conscious decisions to start to move your life in a completely different direction. And it's inspiring to see that. So
thank you.
Yeah, I really mean that too. So okay, now I'm trying to think, what do I want to ask you next? You've answered a few of the questions that I had extra for you already. So I want to know, you kind of already touched on this, but I just want to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
You seem like a very purpose-driven person. Is that accurate? And if so, did you always feel that way?
Very, very accurate.
Okay.
Have I always felt that way? Yes, but I didn't know what the vehicle was.
Yes. Okay. I get you. I got it.
Yeah. And so yeah, for sure. Like, I think purpose drives us all. I think the people that don't know what their purpose is yet or haven't figured out a way to define that, I think they're a little lost sometimes. But when you truly find your purpose, like, it gives you an end result, right? Like, I ask you a question on my podcast all the time: is that at the end of your life, if you could only be remembered for one sentence, what would that sentence be, right? And in that sentence, you find everybody's purpose, and that's why I asked that question.
So what's your sentence?
Yeah, so I left a better person after I met him than before.
I left a better. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what people would say about me. So that would be the sentence that people would say about me when I die. And so, like, for me, like, I think that the person's purpose is in there, and then you go, okay, well, what's that vehicle? And you do that by trying a lot of different things. Like, I've tried many different things, and podcasting happened to be a vehicle that did well for me.
Wow. Okay, so I also noticed that it might be a little too soon to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I noticed that, you tend to use the phrase, it's the journey, not the destination. It's about the journey, not the destination. Your journey has already led you to this really awesome space, Justin, seriously. So what's next for you? Because you still have so much more to go, so much more of life. What's next?
Yeah, I love that. I love that question. And I really do believe it. And I'll just kind of dive into the idea that it is the journey, not the destination, because where the hell are you trying to arrive?
Yeah.
The only thing at the end of all of this is death, right?
Yeah.
So, like, where are you trying to get to? And guess what? If you're not happy right now and you think your end goal is to be a millionaire, you won't be happy there either. Like, that's just the reality of it all. And that's why I live in this whole entire growth concept of this continuous growth every single day until the day I die. Like, the last day I'm on this earth, whether it's tomorrow or 100 years from now, by the way, I plan on living forever, is absolutely, and I'm being dead serious, is absolutely growth every single day. I don't care how minuscule it is, right? The growth could be, hey, look, yesterday I did 10 push-ups. Today I did 11. There's some growth. The growth could be, today I admitted something that I never admitted about myself before in a negative way. That's growth too. So, like, my ultimate thing is just growth every single day. And so, yeah, it is definitely hands down the journey, not the destination. And having a goal and having, like, what are you shooting for? That's important, but it's not everything. And so to answer the second part of that question, what's next, right? And so when I started the podcast, I was like, I want to build a community. I think it'd be really cool to build a place where people can get together and help each other grow and, build the connections and do all these things. And so, I actually just announced this last week, I think, which is a live event that I'm planning around my podcast called Growth Now Movement Live. Because honestly, like, the thing is this, like, I feel blessed every single day to talk to the people that I talk to. Yeah. Just blown away, really. Like, I told you before we hopped on this call, like, I 3 hours ago, I was interviewing the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond. Who also has a Netflix show where he travels the world and eats food, which is hilarious, by the way. Somebody feed Phil, check it out. But, like, I feel blessed, and I want to be able to take that opportunity that I have to have these conversations, to learn from these people in a personal space and bring it to other people. So I've created Growth Now Movement Live, which is year one will be a day-long rock concert for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people looking to level up their life, to learn from some of my greatest guests, from some of the most inspiring people that I've been able to interview. And plus, I'm inviting 20 of my movement makers, which are people that have been on my show who have impacted my life on a personal level, and they're going to be in the room. Because it's not just about the speakers on the stage. It's about who's in the room, who can you connect with. And I know for a fact these people that I'm inviting are willing to help, are willing to give their time and help others. And so I'm creating a community of people that are looking to help each other grow and reach their goals and find happiness and whatever that journey looks like, right?
Right.
And, like, the speakers that I haven't announced yet are so insane. And, like, I want to tell people so bad, but there's a whole plan that I'm following to announce them. And but yeah, like, it's going to be crazy. And so that's what's next for me. I'm really excited to be able to kind of build that community and make it really accessible for people too.
That's exciting, Justin. If I was on the East Coast, I would absolutely be there. So I'll have
you
to
should come anyway. Tickets are so cheap.
I know they are. Do you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. So the thing is this, like, the caliber of speakers that I have speaking, have spoken at events that are $500, $600, $700+ for entry level tickets. Like, that's not an exaggeration. I spoke at an event that was $800 for an entry level ticket. Like, it's just, that's reality, right? So these people would be speaking at these types of events. I wanted to make it accessible for the people who really needed it, the people who really wanted it. And so tickets right now, just for entry level tickets, are $97.
That's awesome. Okay, wait. This is a 2-day event or 1-day event?
It's a 1-day event, but if they get VIP tickets, there's a VIP welcome reception the night before.
Okay,
and
so
by the way, VIP is only $297.
Okay, so let's just tell them now, where can they go to get tickets to your event?
Yeah, so they can go to gnmlive.com.
Okay.
So all the information's on there. I've announced 3 speakers so far. That's all on there. So please, guys, if you're interested, whether it's to hop a plane ticket, I got great rates at the hotel that we booked it at. And so like, look, you can get here for under $500 and get in the room. If you have to fly. If you're local, it's $100.
Woo! Okay, super exciting. Let's kind of roll it back a little bit, but thank you for sharing that now. So now, what do you think? After you've had all these conversations with all these awesome thought leaders, entrepreneurs, people in the personal development space, and your own experiences, what do you think tends to be a block or be in people's way that makes it challenging for them to move forward?
Yeah. And so I love this question because it took me a while to figure that out, because I had so many blocks when I was trying to make, entrepreneurship work and the podcast work. And when I finally realized the only theme between every single person that I talk to is when it completely opened my mind and my world. So there's a question that I ask every single person, because if you listen to my show, like, it's very free flowing. It's just conversation. But there's 2 or 3 questions that I ask the same every single time. But this is one, which is, what's your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success? The definition of success every single time is always different. Every single time. And by the way, it's never a physical thing, but it's always a different answer. But the 3 things, it's always self-serving. And I go, that's really strange. So the 3 things they do every single day to ensure their success, their happiness, however you want to define it, is for themselves. It's not for other people. It's not for anything. And the greatest line that I ever heard was actually from this guy right over my left-hand shoulder. And he says, his name's Preston Smiles. And he says, I need to make sure my cup is full for me. And anything that overflows from my cup is for everybody else. And every single person that I interview, they live this way, because if your cup isn't full, you have nothing to give anyway. And so being selfish in your day-to-day action is the most selfless thing you can do for others.
I love the way that you pointed that out, because I'm absolutely a big believer in self-care. That's how I tend to think of it. And yes, you want your cup so overflowing that you're actually giving from the saucer, not from the cup. You want to stay full. And the more you give to yourself, the more you have to give to others. But I love that realization, how, those 3 daily things aren't focused on anything else but themselves. So can you give us some examples of maybe what other people have shared with you, or maybe what you do for yourself? Yeah.
So, a lot of people say exercise. You have to feel good, all that stuff. So like exercise, just taking care of yourself from a health standpoint. Meditation's really big, visualization, journaling, all that stuff. So the 3 things that I do to ensure my success every single day is, number 1 is visualization. I'm really, really big on visualization and manifestation. Number 2, I journal gratitude every single day. I write it down because there's actual scientific facts of that firing off like brain waves in your head. And so I start my morning with that every morning, and it almost guarantees happiness that day. And number 3, it's funny because it seems like I'm doing this for somebody else, but I'm actually doing it for me. I reach out to one person that I have been close with, meaning, by the way, I reach out to them via text, not Facebook Messenger. So it's somebody who I know on a personal level, and I reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know you're on my mind. I hope you are well. Or if I know that they're going through some things, I'll say, hopefully, I had a friend who just had surgery not that long ago. Hey, hopefully the recovery is going well. And so it sounds like I'm doing that for other people, but what fills my cup is the idea that I'm making other people feel good. So those are the 3 things that I do every single day to ensure my success and my happiness.
I love it. So the other part of that too is just sort of like reinforcing your support system too, by continuing to stay in touch with people. I see the self portion there.
Right. Absolutely. 100%.
Awesome. Okay. So quick hello to those with us live again. Hello to Murphy Thomas. It's actually Thomas Murphy. Nice to see you, Nori. And Lisa is saying she loves this. Best words to live by. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey there. Yeah, absolutely. So those of you here with us, please go ahead. And if you've got questions for Justin, let us know so we can answer them live, or let us know where you're watching from so we can also just know how far we've reached today in this moment. That would be awesome as well.
I hope I don't get any haters like Ian.
Oh my gosh.
Just throwing it out there.
Oh, goodness. Justin, don't even say that. You won't. And if you do, well, I know how to edit. So it's all good.
I love it.
Yeah. And everything serves a purpose too, right? So like that was such a learning moment. So let's just, we're not going to edit this out. So let me just go ahead and talk about that. So yeah, so I did an interview not too long ago, and fantastic person, Ian Gray. And lo and behold, in the middle of the show, a hater came on and started commenting. And I was trying to, manage a few different things doing the show, and I didn't realize it and posted the comment. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. One says it's like starting to slowly hit me and Ian's talking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just advertised this like haters comment. So yeah, that was a total learning moment right there for me as a host. And I think even for him as a guest, I mean, he's absolutely way, experienced and everything, but still it was one of these moments. It's like, oh, didn't see that coming. Yeah. Life throws us curveballs, right? So how am I going to respond to it? So to me in that moment, I remember doing my best to like try and shift the focus to, like what messages does he really want to share with people, and, people who don't always see eye to eye and stuff like that. So anyway, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was a growth moment as a host. So
there you go. It's a growth moment. So, okay. So we talked about self-care. We've talked about your journey forward. Is there something that, is there something you really want people to know about you that tends to get overlooked as you're, meeting with all these other awesome people?
No. I think I'm a super open book. I'm really vulnerable and authentic with everything that I talk about. And so it's hard to somebody asked me what's the one question that you've always wanted to be asked that you've never been asked before? And I don't really have one because I'm just very open. So it's, for me, it's not crazy. Right. And so, going through certain things, I actually just shared this when I was interviewing somebody earlier today. We were just talking about some things, and I had shared a story about when I was 19 years old. My dad was in jail at the time, and I was dating this girl. We were probably dating for the time, probably about 9 months or so. And we went to dinner with her parents, and I might have been 20, maybe, I don't know, somewhere 1920. So okay. We're sitting there, we're all chatting, and we're talking about family. And the girl I was dating knew that my dad was in jail, but her parents didn't. And so her mom was like, oh, well, what about your dad? You don't really talk about your dad. And I go, oh, well, in order for me to see my dad, I need visitation hours. I need to go during visitation hours, as a joke. And she grabbed my leg. And in that moment I went, well, this relationship's over. And we dated for a couple, we dated for a couple more months, and it ended up ending because her family was like, hey, look, you marry the family too. And blah, blah, blah. Wow. And I share that story because at the same moment when she grabbed my leg and I felt like, oh, this relationship's over, an amazing weight got lifted off of my shoulders because I stopped lying about who I was and where I came from and started owning who I was and where I'm going. And, nice. And in that moment, I was like, that feels really good. Yeah, it sucked that it ended, but I was 19 years old. It would have ended anyway. Hindsight's whatever, right? Yeah. But reality was that it was a weird shift. And I think that when I finally was unapologetically myself, the universe started to give me what I needed to have. And so yes, it's not necessarily a fact about me in general, but I think that that's something kind of interesting to think about and look at, with the idea that look, when you're unapologetically yourselves, the people that aren't supposed to be there will go away, and the people that are supposed to be there will stick around. And that's just reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, well, I'm going to divert from that a little bit. I love that you talked earlier about, you're big on visualization and manifestation. And so for anybody watching, will you share with us how you do visualization? For some, it's obvious and simple. Other people are like, how do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually love that you asked this question because I just interviewed an incredible woman named Sarah Centrella. And if you don't know her, look her up. She is the master vision board person, master visualization. She's on her Pinterest, she has 70 manifestations that she had put on her vision board that became reality. 70, nice. Which is and these are massive things. These aren't like, oh, I want this fancy pen. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're huge. Her episode comes out on Tuesday on my show, but we were just talking about how she does it with vision boards and stuff like that. So I do it just by continuously thinking about exactly how I want the thing to go down. So let's talk about Growth Now Movement Live.
Interesting.
I've had a playlist on Spotify for over a year of music that I've brought in that I want to be held at the event. at certain parts during the event. What am I going to be doing when that song was playing here? Who's going to be doing this? Who's going to be doing that? I can tell you that the keynote speaker, I visualized at my event for a year and a half at this point, and he's going to be the keynote speaker. And this before I knew him, by the way. I said he's going to be a keynote speaker at my event. And the music is going to be playing that I've been literally listening in my car as I'm visualizing this process. So I'm very much like, I need like energy coming in. So I'm a visual learner, but I'm also like a sound, like energy, sound, music kind of manifester. So I do this by living in the moments in my head. Obviously I can't live in the moment as it's not happening, but I live in the moment in my head. And so I've gotten better at this in time. Like before I used to be like, this is how it's going to be and blah, blah, blah. But then I was too scared to execute in that way. So now I visualize so clearly exactly what it is that I want, that when it comes to executing, it's second nature. I've already done it 10 million times.
Right.
So that's how I do it. And like the music has been a huge thing for me, because I believe that all of our lives should have a soundtrack. Meaning I wish like when you watch a sitcom or like a romantic comedy, like there's like music playing during certain points. Yeah. I'm like, I wish that was real life. I just make that in my real life. And so, yeah, so I really believe in that idea. And so, yeah, it's definitely just truly, clearly visualize every second of what it is you want, not just, oh, I want to have a podcast. It's no, like, how are you going to do it? What's it going to look like? What kind of questions are you going to ask? Who are you going to interview? And when you interview them, what kind of energy are you going to give them? Like, you have to visualize all of that. And so once I was able to master that, all these things started to manifest.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a lot of clarity to be able to even visualize that. And that's freaking awesome. I know energetically, like I know you're saying like it lives in your head, but it doesn't just live in your head, because the more we do that, it generates those feelings and the energy, right? And so it goes beyond. But now, is there ever a time when you're not so clear on what it is you want? Maybe you have an idea, but you're not so clear, which means the visualization is going to be a little fuzzy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I think that's anything when it becomes a first idea. Like anything's fuzzy at first because you're like, why are you even thinking that? Like what you're a little crazy. Like what are you doing thinking that stuff, right? And like when I visualize the business that I have now, which is podcast production and coaching, I didn't know exactly what that looked like when I launched it. And so it was fuzzy. I didn't know the types of packages I needed. I didn't know what types of clients I wanted to work with. I was just like, I just needed some clients. And that was about it. And I'm like, this would pay my bills, so that's what I'm going to charge. And but when you start to actually get clarity on that and start to visualize the type of people you want to work with, and what's the perfect client, and what price point it makes sense, and like how are you really going to help these people and deliver all the time, and all these things, right? So like I think sometimes it just takes trial and error too to begin to see that, make that thing a little bit more clear.
Okay, trial and error. So you don't necessarily have like any activity or exercise you do to help you gain clarity?
No, I think sometimes that we're put in a place where we feel like we need to have clarity right away. Like I'm a big proponent of like, just go ahead and give it a try and hopefully, whatever. But like, no, there's no exercises to say this is the perfect clear thing that I want, because I think I live in that whole like growth every day thing instead of like I need to arrive somewhere thing. And so, no. I know that's not the answer that most people give, but that's just the reality of my life.
No, that's what I love though, is everyone does have a different answer, how it works for them. So no, that's awesome. So, okay, I'm going to ask you a standard question that I tend to ask guests on my show. This is the Every Day is a New Day show. What does every day is a new day mean to you, or what comes to mind when you think about that phrase?
That's kind of what I live, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you came from. What matters is where you're going. And so like yesterday you could have messed up, right? And you could have made a massive mistake. You could have lost a client. You could have ended a relationship that you shouldn't have ended. You could have whatever, but like today is a new opportunity to create whatever it is you want, which is that perfect life. And I believe perfect life is just happiness every single day. And so, for me, like not every day ends on a high note. But I know that I can start every day on a high note because I have a purpose and I have a mission. And so, yeah, for me, it just doesn't matter. Yesterday doesn't matter. I can't change it. What matters is, today is happening and tomorrow is going to happen. And, and that's just reality. And so like we need to set our sights on the future instead of living in the past all the time. So that's probably what that means to me.
I love it. Okay, awesome. So we're going to take a quick moment and say hello to some new guests. We've got, in my screen here, let's see here, we've got Shalani. Is it Shalani or Shalani Cruz? Hello.
Shalani, how are you? I know who that is. She lives in my hometown.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for being here. We've also got Rhonda Smith giving you a huge kudos there.
So she says I'm an incredible human being. Rhonda, I actually, a lot of my success I give to Rhonda because she helped me through a lot of my darkest moments. So when I talk about like those dark moments of my life and how do I get through it? And I talk a lot of times about sitting in your shit. That all comes from Rhonda. That is not for me. So big shout out back to Rhonda. I highly recommend everybody reach out to her because she's a game changer.
Awesome. Very nice to know. Okay. So Justin, so you have this event coming up next. You're big on manifestation and visualization. Is there something that, that you have a vision for in your life that I'm going to say is in the process of coming to you, but not here yet that you'd like to share with us? Like, what's your big dream that hasn't happened yet? Or is there anything? It's really right now for me, it's Growth Now Movement Live. That's been I think that's been a dream of mine, probably even before the podcast. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. But that's really kind of what I'm focused on at this point. But I'll also say this. Now that you've asked the question in that way, we'll go back to like the vision being blurry versus clear, right? Okay. So the beginning of 2017, I set a goal of saying to myself, I want to feel like I belong at the table. And I didn't know what that meant. All I knew is I meant that I wanted to feel like the people that I was interviewing, that like I felt like I belonged there interviewing them. And by the end of that year, the Inc. article hit because I had an intention of feeling like I belonged. Yeah. And so that's what happened. And in 2018, my intention is, okay, I'm going to be at that table. And in all honesty, like I text people that there's no way in hell I ever thought I'd be texting. And they reach out to me and ask me questions about business. And, because I set an intention. And so when you set an intention, your actions start to take this real thing. Right. And so, 2018, I've already reached the whole, like, I want to be at the table. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just want that to continue. I want to be able to, I want to play a little bit bigger. I want to be able to give more. And in order to give more, I have to receive more first. And so for me, like, I think that's the main thing is just focusing on receiving to give, and then end my live event and just really kind of focusing on that stuff going forward. Have you ever found that it to be a struggle to allow yourself to receive?
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So I still struggle with it. Like I still do. When I talk to people and I'm like, oh yeah, just by chance Inc.com happened and and they're like, no, like you made this happen.
Yeah,
right?
You did. Yeah.
And so I have a hard time because I think I am such a giver and I am such like a,
you are.
That type of person. So like, yeah, I mean, I have a hard time receiving, but there are certain people in my life that I can receive from that's enough for me. And what I mean by that is like when my sisters are like, I'm so proud of you. And my dad is like, dude, you're killing it. And like, so I receive those things and that's what's important to me. Like, I don't need the world cheering me on. I just need people listening that I'm impacting their lives. And I need my family to be proud of what I'm doing. If those things are happening, everything else will take care of itself.
That's beautiful. And family is such a big, can be such a big source of support for so many of us. So that's awesome that you have that. That's wonderful. I thought I had another question for you and it just sort of went out, but thank you for sharing that. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. Okay. So I'm going to call you out on something really quick. I already started this, but I just want to acknowledge this is how humble this guy is. So when I was, for my show, I have guests fill out a pre-show questionnaire and I want to know, like, what's your title? Like, what do I call you? And, so I had a little blurb there, like, what's your professional title? Type it in. And, people would say like for him, founder of Growth Now Movement, or beginpodcastingnow.com, right? Yeah. Is that it? Okay. Yeah. So, something about that stuff. What did he put? He put Justin? Justin question mark? Is that your title? Try to do that. I have Justin Schenck, also known as Justin?
Yes. Well, that's my title. Like, I don't know. Like, I think for me, it's just, I feel blessed and honored to do what I do every single day. And, and my ultimate goal is to bring people along on this journey. Like so for the first time in my life with this live event, I will tell people that they're idiots to not buy tickets. Like I've never been confident enough in something that I've put together that I am in this event. As far as it being a life-changing, altering day and a half of whatever you want to put into it, right? And so if I say to people like, hey, like get a ticket, and they go, oh yeah, I'll get there. And they go, oh no, I can't afford it, or whatever the case may be, I will blatantly say to them, you're an idiot for not coming. And you'll regret not being there, because I believe in this. And this is not from me puffing my own chest out standpoint. This is like, I know for a fact that the content and the everything about this event, like it will change your life. And so like maybe in the future, I'll put for my title, the founder of Growth Now Movement Live. But at the end of the day, I'm just Justin. And hopefully some people can come along in this journey and surpass me and say, you know what, I am this because of Justin. And that's where I win the most, is when other people say, yeah, I have these successes because of what I learned from Justin, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I have every faith that your event is going to be phenomenal and amazing. And like you said, this is only the first one. There's going to be more. And so I will just second it, even though I'm not going to, we'll see. I'm not going to say it. We'll see.
You will be there.
Okay, so I'm going to be there at the event, and I'm excited for you, Justin. And I'll just go ahead and share here. I mean, we've had some people with us live who are giving you shout outs, who know you personally or have experienced you, and raving about you. And I just want to also add that yes, when I first met you, we met earlier this year at an event where you were at the table, literally. And as an icon of influence in this new media space. And I just want to say that, Justin, you radiate such feel like I don't have the right word, genuineness. Down to earth genuineness, seriously there, just like with your open heart to give and serve. And, when I first before I sat at your table, I actually was sitting down at another table. I would sit down at a table and talk with some of the icons. And so I went to one table and I was like, oh, something doesn't feel right. I'm like, and I was like, Kim, pick another table then really quick. And so I looked and I saw Justin. I was like, oh, and there was one seat left. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to go over. And, and I'm so glad that I did, because you really are an amazing person. And so you are just Justin, but you're so much more than just Justin. Just Justin is really awesome. So,
well, thank you. So that really means that really means a lot. Like I think that's all I really want, because I hate idiots who act like they're better than everybody else, and unfortunately, there's too much of that. And
you don't do that.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you saying that. And we chatted after we left the round table, and I really like what you're all about too. Like, I think it's very similar. Like it's very much like, you want to help people, and like, what's the vehicle to do that? And like, how do I improve this or this? And like, I love people that are willing to ask the right questions, because there are so many questions you can ask, and there are right ones and there are not so right ones. And I just love what you're all about too. And like, and it was one of those connections where I was like, cool. Like, I know that you're somebody that will stay in touch a very long time, no matter what our lives look in the future. Meeting up in Reading, Pennsylvania at Growth Now Movement Live again, and, doing all that stuff. So, but yeah, so, I really, really do. I like this, by the way, I'm bad at receiving. This is me not receiving.
I'm just going to keep throwing it at you then if you don't. So
thank you so much. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean it wholeheartedly. So absolutely, you're doing a great job. And we've got another comment here. And what I want to showcase about this is at the very end, she says, keep leading, because Justin, that's exactly what you're doing. So you are totally a leader, and I'm excited to see, how things continue to expand for you. And I love that you're also able to talk about visualization and manifestation, because although there are so many people that are also, very, very into creating and building their life that way, I think there are a lot of new people coming into the awareness that things can be different from where you are by, like you said, using your mind and visualizing, and the gratitudes. So amazing. So I'm glad you shared that today. We are nearing the end of our show, and I so have enjoyed speaking with you. Is there any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with today? Yeah,
I think more than anything, we're given a load of crap of what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do and where we're supposed to end up and all these other things. And I think that, the end of the day is like, like you are exactly who you're supposed to be right now. And that's all that matters. And like, as long as you promise yourself that you're going to improve and grow every single day and find a way to align with the people that can help you do that, don't ever apologize for where you are right now, because that's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I love that. And again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, I really see that when we choose to learn from those things that don't feel so good, it actually is quicker to then move beyond them too. So it's that whole kind of could be like a weird dichotomy about like, oh, I have to actually acknowledge it and embrace it to be able to let go of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
100%.
Awesome. Okay. And so one more time, where can people find out more about you and all the services and your events and all of that?
Yeah. So just 3 quick things. So if you want to hear the podcast and some of the amazing people I get to interview, just search Growth Now Movement wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to start your own podcast to get your word out there, or you want to take your current podcast to the next level, go to beginpodcastingnow.com. If you are ready and willing and able to take your life to the next level, go to gnmlive.com and get your tickets today. And I'll tell you what, I actually set up a code recently, like earlier today, and there's only 10 of them available. I'm not making this up. It sounds like I am. But if they type in Justin as a coupon code, they'll get 15% off the already ridiculously low price. So I haven't shared that out. I actually created it for one person. I was like, I don't want a ton of these. So I made 10 of them. And so, yeah, go get them.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay. Very cool. I'm glad you shared that. And what a gift to those who are going to be attending. And I look forward to seeing them there. So.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, it has been so awesome interviewing you today, Justin. Thank you for being here. And thank you again to all those that have watched, whether you're live or on the replay. You have watched the Every Day is a New Day show. It is not about where you are today. Wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. And keep that in mind. Embracing now, the present, living in this moment actually supports you in being able to move forward and to grow and build and create your life how you want to experience it. So I hope you have a fantastic day. To find out more about the Every Day is a New Day show, you can go to, on Facebook, go to @KimO'Neill_Coaching. The title is Every Day is a New Day Show and Coaching. And if you're looking for support in being able to move forward from where you are, enhance your confidence in both life and your professional life, then definitely check out KimO'Neill_Coaching.com, O'Neill, O'Neill, and schedule a consultation. And I'd love to connect with you and see how I can support you in moving forward. Have a fantastic day. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.